How can I trust my intuition? It's one of the most prevalent questions I get as a spiritual mentor, teacher that helps people with growing their spiritual gifts is how can I trust my intuition? Is that you? Have you wished for more intuitive downloads? Or you get some, but you feel like you always go into doubt and question back and forth. Well, if you're showing up here today, then you must be wanting or needing to hear Archangel Gabriel's guidance and the flying horse's guidance on how do you start trusting your intuition. They kind of came in a little bit before. I always do a little meditation before and check in with them about what do they want to share and talk about as we create them as a spirit guide portal. So, hi, I'm Deepa Lou, and I'm the Creative Mystic, and welcome to my Sacred Art Studio. This is all about helping you to experience the divine in different ways. And this particular session, we're working on Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse and creating them into a spirit guide portal, a portal which is a doorway for you to experience the divine. Specifically, this portal is so that you can experience the divine of Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse. See, so one of the ways that you can get intuitive guidance is using a tool like a portal. And this is a spirit guide portal that's here for you to actually use for your development of your intuition. So one of the things I always like to start with, if you haven't been here before, is I like to ring the bell. If you've been here before, I should say. If you haven't been here before, I always like to let people know. We ring the bell to invite in God, Spirit, higher power, whatever you call your higher power. Specifically today, we're going to invite in the spirit guide portals, the spirit guides of Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse. Okay, so it's a tradition that you ring the bell, and when you ring the bell, that sound, vibration sound is so important, I find, in the development of spiritual growth, in the development of your spiritual gifts. When I talk about spiritual growth, I'm talking about your gifts such as intuition. Maybe you have like a gift. My gift is I get to have these great spirit guides come into my meditation and give me visions, and then a blessing of what they want me to create into the portal, the doorway that brings blessings to you. Because it's about creating sacred space, not only here in my art studio, but in your space. Wherever you are watching this video or listening to this, it's about how do we create this energy of divine presence in all her magnificent forms and bring it not only here into this art studio where we're creating the spirit guide portal, but into your space. Because if you've tuned in, then you must have an interest in creativity, in the spirit guides, in growing spiritually, because that's what this spirit and art time is all about. It's about the spirit guides give me some guidance of what they want me to share with you. Maybe they want to share some intuitive guidance, but it's all about creating that sacred space wherever you are. And it's not just a sacred space of the physical space that you're in, like I'm in my art studio, but also in the sacred space within yourself. In fact, the inner sacred space is the most important sacred space, because if you have inner sacred space, wherever you go outwardly, you will transform the energy in that physical space. But being in a body, most people find that if they work with the physical space, it actually helps the inner space. So we're going to start that right now by ringing this bell and inviting in Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse spirit guides. All right. So I invite you, if you have a bell of any kind, to get that bell and ring it with me in your space. And you can invite in, I hope, Archangel Gabriel, because Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse came with the blessings of that all things are possible, that miracles can happen, that you can have your miracle. Now, a miracle is anything that you have desired that you haven't thought was possible. That could be desiring maybe more physical health, more financial wealth, maybe a relationship, maybe a dream of moving somewhere else or starting your own business, whatever that miracle is that you would like on any level, because it's not necessarily like raising someone from the dead. It's about something you haven't believed could be possible. Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse want you to start to be open to the idea that all things are possible. All right? So that's the blessings of this spirit guide portal, and that there will be more, I'm sure, as we go along. So what we're going to do right now is get that bell and create that sacred space. Make a prayer. I'm going to do a prayer inviting in their energy, and you can do that same to invite in the energy of Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse into your physical space and into your inner space. All right? So let's begin. Hello, Archangel Gabriel. Hello, the Flying Horse. We invoke thy presence into this space, into this sacred art studio, into the space of whatever each viewer is watching this, listening to this, and into the inner space of each viewer to awaken them to the blessings of Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse, awaken them to the blessings of all things are possible. Miracles are here. That the very thing that you thought couldn't be can be. To welcome yourself, to just be open to receive the guidance, the blessings, the transformation that is always there when one awakens to divine presence. And as we welcome in this energy, we say thank you. Thank you to Archangel Gabriel. Thank you to the Flying Horse for coming in to our space, inwardly and outwardly, blessing us with thy divine presence, thy divine wisdom, thy divine possibility, thy divine joy and love. Om, peace. Amen. And then I always like to bring the energy of flame, of fire. I'm going to use a ghee lamp. And if you have a candle or ghee lamp, you can light your own. Because fire has the power of transformation. It carries the energy of the divine. And we're going to do a couple of chants, the Mahamrityunjaya mantra and the Gayatri mantra, invoking this divine healing energy, because healing is always needed. It may be healing in just our consciousness, could be physical healing, emotional, mental, spiritual. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivadinam Urva Rekabandhanat Mrityo Mokshamamritat. Om. And we do the Gayatri mantra to bless this portal, this spirit guide energy of the divine presence of God, of the angels, of all the magnificent forms of Divine Mother into this portal and awaken it in our own selves, inwardly and outwardly. Om Bo, Om Babaha, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tatsavitur Vadinyam Bhargo Devasya Dimahi Dio Yona Prachodayat. Om. Om. And I like the Palo Santo. One is I love the smell of Palo Santo. But two, it helps remove any kind of negative energies that might have been infused into the portal and into the space. And it also awakens the divine energy, inviting it in. And let's see, you as a viewer, just to draw that Palo Santo into your own energy, clearing your energy from any negativity, any downward pulling energy, and inviting in higher power, the divine presence in all its magnificent forms. So Archangel Gabriel came to me today and was telling me that when I asked, like, what do you want me to share today? Because I'm always here to, help. My hope in every day that I'm alive is that I'll be a blessing of divine presence, a blessing to help you in your life to have a better life, to grow spiritually, to develop your gifts so that you can actually be the powerful being that you're meant to be. So Archangel Gabriel kind of put in my consciousness as I meditated with them to talk about intuition today, because he was saying what's the question you get asked most often? And there's one, which is what I started with, was about how can I trust my intuition? The other one is about, like, do I have a spirit guide? Because obviously I create spirit guides. So people ask me that, well, do I have one? And they kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways with developing your intuition. But part of intuition and trusting it that people don't get is that, and this is what they want me to share with you, is trusting your intuition is the willingness to have the courage to take action on it. And so, and what they're saying is that means that you may take action on some things that you don't know that are your intuition, that you think might be, because you're getting a feeling that maybe it is, but the fear of the doubt, which is really your ego coming in, your subconscious programming, that makes you go, is this intuition or is this my ego? Is this intuition or is this my ego? And that's your ego always putting you in the questioning mode. So it's about recognizing the moment that you get that intuitive inkling, they're saying, that you notice how you feel in the moment that you get it. Not the second moment after you think about it, but the moment that you get it. Because in that moment that you get it, that at that moment, it will feel right. It will feel like, yes, like your heart's desire is like you can feel the pull and it's true for you. And then after that first second, when you're getting the download, and that second of the download is coming in, it will feel that way. But then what will happen is all your programming will come in and take it over, and you'll doubt it. You'll doubt, or you'll use logic or responsibility for all the things of saying why you shouldn't do it, why this is crazy, why, and they're saying that voice is always the voice of the programming. Whenever you're judging yourself, whenever you're doubting yourself, because spirit doesn't speak in doubt. Spirit speaks in like this, like, I'm supposed to do this. I'm here to do this thing. It doesn't speak in maybes or, it's about how do you feel in the moment that you get the guidance, not in the second moment after. It's as it's coming in, how are you feeling? So Archangel Gabriel wants me to share with you something like, okay, I was into thinking about forest therapy. I don't know if any of you know what that is, but I love nature. I love being in nature. I love going out in nature. I love mountain biking because it's in nature. I love, if I ride my bike, I like riding my road bike in areas where there's nature, so I love nature. I love seeing wild animals. I love nature. And I had thought about taking a forest therapy training at one point and kind of looked at it, but never really acted on it. And kind of let it set aside for several, it was probably a good year. Okay. And then all of a sudden I got this little inkling to like, lone tube thing, a nudge, like I should go look up forest therapy again. force therapy training. So I did. And I went online and I looked it up, and boom, what comes up? A force therapy training in basically the same area I live in. It was going to be happening right where I live, like 20 minutes from where I live. Was where they were going to be having the hotel. And then we would be going to places that were like within 20 to 30 minutes of where I lived. And so I was like, and I could feel when I found it, like, and I was reading about it, that, it felt like this, I am supposed to do this, okay? Now, in the past, because this was only like, I guess it's been 2 years now, maybe 3 years, 2 years now. It's been 2. In the past, like if you talk like 10, 15 years ago, if I'd gotten that feeling, I would have went, oh yeah, I really want to do this. Oh, I feel like I should. And then that program would come in, that doesn't make any sense. That's not logical. How are we going to pay for it or whatever? Something would come up, some kind of programming would come in, that like I'm not being responsible or something like that, because I had to take off obviously work to go do this training. And so, but this time, because I've been, for many years now, I've been trusting my intuition, I just like, I know I need to do this. Like, I could just feel that it felt right. The fact that it popped up right here locally, there wasn't any, I could just tell it, I'm supposed to do this. Now, and so I told my wife and I signed up and I did it. Okay. So I took the action. Now, I still haven't seen exactly how I'm going to use it in business or in my life exactly for others. But I know still that it was the right thing to do. Like it blessed me so much when I was doing the training and gave me a whole deeper understanding and perspective on why nature feeds me, on how to go out in nature for myself and feed myself, not only just emotionally, but spiritually, physically, and also it fed my own intellectual needs of knowing like why nature is so good for us, not just because it like you go, it feels good. There's actually what are called phytoncides that the trees put off, and you breathe those phytoncides in, and it helps your immune system and keeps making it stronger, and then helps keep disease away. And so it did so many things just for me. And so having the courage was what Archangel Gabriel and the Flying Horse was saying is so important for you to do, to act on it, because it is through the acting on it that you start to see what is in like your intuition and what is your ego. Okay. So that's one of the things I wanted to share with you. Now, we're going to start painting Archangel Gabriel here and the Flying Horse. And I know they're going to probably drop in and give me more downloads of what to share with you. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to put them in the chat or in the comments if you're seeing this at a later date. Obviously, if you've seen it later and it's not live, I can't give you an answer later, but it's still good. I go in and answer all my comments as best I can. It may not be a channel answer from the portal, but I will go in and do my best to answer for you. All right? So let's get going on painting now, because Archangel Gabriel has already shown me some things they want me to start with on painting these spirit guide portals. And if you are an artist and you do more than one painting at a time, I highly recommend getting these little plastic containers. You can put paint in, you can keep it fresh, especially if it's oil paints. If it's acrylics dry quickly, but if you do oil paints, it keeps it fresh for a while. So, and if you are somebody who usually comes to this, and you came last week and I wasn't around, I apologize. I had a really bad case of vertigo and couldn't actually stand up here and paint because I was not doing well. If anybody knows, if you've ever had vertigo, it's not fun. So, but I'm going to be back this week, obviously. Here I am. And I will probably be missing next week just because taking next week off, but we'll be back to doing it every week after that. So working on a lot of the fine detail right now of spirit guides. The thing about the fine detail is it doesn't seem like a lot's happening when you're painting. But then it is the fine details that makes it come to life. And I always want there to be life in these spirit guides. Okay. So one of the things that Archangel Gabriel is talking about right now with your intuition is they're saying that when you're learning to trust your intuition, it's important to start with asking things more broadly, not so specific, like trying to figure out maybe what your purpose is, but just guidance on how do you want me to spend my day? And doing your best to follow like the guidance of what they're recommending of how they want you to spend your day. So like when if you have your own spirit guides and you're wanting to develop that relationship with them, is you instead of saying, am I supposed to do blah, blah, blah? Because, and the reason why they're saying to do this is because when you start to ask stuff that you've been trying to figure out, like you want to know what your purpose is, or should you take this job, or should you not, or something like that, they say you have a lot of attachments to the answer. You have attachments to it being the right answer or the right thing. And they said that need to have it be the right thing and your worry about it is what makes it so you can't trust it. And so until your skill sets are developed more, they say it's best to start and go, well, what is your guidance of what I am to do today? And then you follow that guidance so that you can see that that when you do it, that it actually brought you like something good. And it might not be good like, oh, I got more money, or oh, I got this, or I got that. It might be, just so you know, I'm stepping out of the frame to look at it from a distance because that's what you have to do when you're painting on the oil paints. But they're saying that they want you to, if you want to develop your intuition, is for you to stop asking the big, heavy questions first. They know that that's what you want answered, but that's the hardest thing for you to actually get answers on when your skill sets are, when you're just starting out. And they're asking me to share, like, my experience with starting to trust my intuition. And part of that for me was, getting the guidance to trust, like what they recommend that I do. So you might ask something like, what's your guidance on to do today? And they might say something like, something really broad, because people want really specific answers, because, we're into details and when we're in the human body. And they might just be like, we want you to go out into nature. And you're like, what? Why should I do that? Like, I got to go to work today. See, and that's that, gotta go to work today is that logical, practical thinking, okay? Now, I'm not telling you to quit your job or to not show up to work, but you can still get out to nature. Like, how can you get out to nature and follow that intuition of going out to nature? Like, maybe you go to a park that's close by. If you can't go to a park, maybe you have a backyard that you can go out to, and that backyard will be nature, and you focus on the nature that's in the backyard. So that, because those kind of things, you don't necessarily have a lot of attachments, because attachments that you have of how it shows up, when it shows up, the way it shows up is what prevents you from knowing what your intuition is. And so if you want to get into the energy of miracles, that all things are possible, Archangel Gabriel and the flying horse is saying, just start asking us. When they say us, it can be higher power in any form, but your spirit guides are saying specifically, if you could do that, start asking us, just what's their guidance for the day, and see what it is, and do your best to act on it, because the acting on it is what will bring, well, not bring, but develop, because they want you to get that having trust in your intuition is about developing it. It's not about like a snap of a fingers and it will be there, okay? They want you to get that it's about developing it, practicing it, because the thing that's coming in that you have to practice to stop doing is your ego. That second after you get the download, what happens is your ego comes in, right? Your ego comes in and says, this is stupid. That's not responsible. Whatever all the stories are that your programming tells you, it starts to come in and say all those things. So you have to practice acting on it so you can quiet down that ego. And that's what they're saying, is that developing your intuition is about, one thing is about being willing to practice. Take the action and see what happens. Now, they're saying that part of it is learning how to actually understand the intuitive guidance, because intuition isn't going to be like a booming voice that speaks to you exactly how, like your best friend speaks to you. And so they're wanting you to get that you have to start to learn also the symbolism that is involved in understanding your intuition. Because spirit guides speak to you most of the time through symbolism. Hopefully I'm speaking that so you can understand it. So you got to start to understand the symbolism of what things mean to you. And that symbolism, especially if you're an empath, because I'm an empath, what I found is my intuition, when I first started getting it a lot, spoke through my feeling nature. So if you're highly sensitive or a empath, your intuition is most likely going to speak to you through your feeling nature. And you have to understand what that means or what it's telling you. So, and one of the things that they're saying to me too is if you want to get more downloads, you have to become more aware. Awareness is one of the keys to recognizing when you're getting a download. And the way you actually start to become more aware is to develop a meditation practice. If you're not someone who can meditate, like a lot of people feel like they can't. Now, I'm a believer everybody can. It just, you might need to do a different kind of meditation than what someone's teaching. So if you're not a big sitting meditation person, maybe you do walking meditation. And if you're like some do, I think it's called transcendental meditation, where they let the thoughts float in and out, and that doesn't seem to help them at all. Then you can do it like what I do is a mantra meditation. Now, even a mantra meditation has some element of allowing the thoughts to come in and then allowing them to drift out. But when you do a mantra meditation, you focus on the mantra, and it really is about learning how to focus your mind onto one thing. So people think that meditation is not thinking, and I tell people, no, it's not thinking, because no, there's not anybody I know that cannot think who, unless they're already a self-realized, God-realized master already. So it is about learning how to focus the mind. And that is something that just about everybody can learn to do at some level, is to learn how to focus the mind. So that could be you focus, if you're someone like some people say, oh, I have ADHD. Well, it could be maybe you're not going to focus and do a mantra meditation, but you're going to focus on maybe a walking meditation where you go outside and you focus on each step. So you're focusing on the step, the next step, the next step, the next step. See, so there's different kinds of meditation, but each one of them can help raise your level of awareness. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again because repetition is one of the biggest things when you're on the spiritual path that you have to be willing to do, is repeat, hear things repeatedly so you can have deeper understanding of them, but also hear it again because maybe you didn't quite understand it completely the first time, or that you don't have the level of understanding that you could apply it in your life where you could actually do it, the spiritual truth. Because, you know, a lot of times we know about spiritual truth, but it is not until we are actually living it, which means you're doing it, you're actually actively doing it, that our life transforms. And that's the thing about when you start to grow spiritually, people are looking for some kind of like angels, you know, singing or horns blowing or something when they become enlightened. And I tell people it is, but you start to see it like the improvement in your life, like things start to be different in your life where they get better. Now, I'm not talking about all of a sudden you win the lottery, but I'm talking about maybe you had a lot of problems with relationships with people and things like that. Well, when you grow spiritually, you see those problems begin to diminish because you start to change. You start to, you know, have a higher consciousness and can respond differently rather than reacting. And so those kind of things. Now, that being said, I tell people there's no spiritual bypass. Like if you have emotional trauma, and that's anything that's traumatic to you, then you need to take care of that trauma so that you can grow spiritually. Because if you don't take care of the trauma, that's going to keep bringing you back into the problem. And it's really hard to grow spiritually if you keep getting back into the problem. Give me something on there. Thank you, Reverend Prince Faden. I see you're on there. Om. 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 So the last thing they're saying to me is just basically, are you willing to do what they suggested earlier? Are you willing to actually just get up every day and ask your spirit guides or your intuition, your higher power, what's your guidance for me to do today? And do your best to act on it, because that's going to start the path of beginning to trust your intuition. It's a practice, is what they're saying, and they want you to start practicing so that you can have the miracles, because they're saying, now they're saying that part of what makes miracles happen, that all things are possible, is that you follow the intuitive guidance you're getting, which is going to actually get you out of the pattern that you've been doing and have you do something new and different. See, because your intuition is always trying to bring you to that next level of growth, they're saying. And so it's that next level of growth and requires that you do something new and different. So they're asking you to actually take the challenge, they're saying, of asking about what's your intuitive guidance to your spirit guide, because your spirit guides bring you higher consciousness, and acting on it as best you can. And then from there, you'll start to see where it's leading you to your growth. Because if you don't know what your purpose is and you don't know what your next step is, then you need to, it's because you're caught in your programming that you need to go to higher guidance to get out of the habits that you're in that are keeping you stuck. So hopefully that makes sense. If you are finding this in the recording, feel free to subscribe, because I do these lives every Thursday at 3:30. I will be missing next week, but I'll be back the week after, and then be doing every week until Thanksgiving. It's hard to believe Thanksgiving's going to be around the corner in like a month or so, but love to see you there. And if, like I said, if you like, please subscribe. If you find this is helpful, please share it with someone that you would find this to be a blessing for them, and turn on your notifications and give me a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. All right. Have a miraculous day. Blessings. And I'll see you in the next live. Bye.